do you do, everyone? Our story this time is about a man's triumph over almost unbelievable odds. And yet our most important clues are not physical ones, but happen to be invisible. These can be seen, however. On these 3 trays, we reproduce exactly the total amount of food a grown man was permitted to eat each day over a period of 70 days. If you wanted to master a man, you would weaken him scientifically like this, taking your time, so that his body would crumble and his brain fall asleep. Unless, of course, he could rest most of the time. That would be nature's defense, in which case you would keep waking him up or hold a light burning through his eyelids. Theoretically, after 70 days of this, you should be his master. Nevertheless, your man might still defeat you if throughout he had clung to our final clue, which I think quite proper to represent here as the cross.
This morning I was discussing the joke of death, and the principal point that I was making was that death and life, or that is to say, in other words, the interval and the event, death being the interval between events, between one appearance and another of human beings, in the same way as winter is the interval between the appearance of the leaves in spring and their disappearance in the fall. But there is, you see, the chronic fear that the interval may be all that there is, that the interval may triumph, and there may be no event. And I was trying to show you that there is a polarity between the event and the interval between events, in such a way that you can no more have the one without the other than you can have the crest of the wave without the trough.
And the punishment was death.
The Undertaker's coming.
Who's he coming for?
Well, it ain't gonna be me!
Children! Stay with me! Do not abandon me, children! Don't go!
Sorry, Father.
No!
That old Bible speaks of angels doing service unto the Lord. The Undertaker knows no master, he drinks from any cup poured, just as banshees wail their warnings that someone that same day will die. The Undertaker, he states the same, and I'll be goddamned if he tells a lie.
Consciousness is defined as the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. It's the mind's understanding that it exists, and it's one of the most elusive phenomena in all of human understanding. Not a surprise. To try and shed light on this mystery, scientists are searching for a biological explanation that they call the neural correlates of consciousness, which means the parts of your brain that supposedly generate self-awareness. And they may have found a key component. Researchers at the Allen Institute for Brain Science uncovered 3 giant neurons, one of which is projected across the cortex of a mouse brain like a crown of thorns. They've traced these special neurons to what's believed to be one of the most densely connected parts of the brain called the claustrum. Scientists have hypothesized that the claustrum could be coordinating all sorts of inputs and outputs to create the conscious experience. So seeing these 3 giant neurons extend from the claustrum, kind of a big deal. The claustrum is a tiny sheet of neurons just below the cortex, and there's one on each hemisphere of the brain. Scientists suspect the claustrum is a highly integrated region and could have more anatomical connections than any other part of the brain. It's potentially connected to many cortical areas that are crucial for perception, vision, movement, and hearing. When studying the region, famous neuroscientist Francis Crick, yes, one of the guys that discovered the structure of DNA, proposed that subjective consciousness is possible thanks to the claustrum.